آریانا افغانستان یگانه شبکه تلویزیونی ملی افغان‌ها در خارج از کشور.
توانا بود ارکی دانا بود، ز دانش دل پیر برنا بود.
دلوی او بخونکه خدای پنامه گران و قدرمن دوستانو سلام علیکم هیله چرو خوشحال هوارامسی او دنن رازی ده پوهن راناده په اخبارونه دیر خیر اغلاست زه مریم اسماعیل ارسلا دا اختصاصی اخبارونه تاسته ده آریانا افغانستان نریواله شبکه سخ ورند کام هاو هیله لرم چه تاسو زده پور و هاو استفاده ورسیگی بینندگان عزیز و ارجمند برنامه دانش روشنایی است. با آرزوی صحت و سلامت شما برنامه اختصاصی امروز دانش روشنایی را آغاز می‌کنیم. امیدوارم شاد و صحتمند باشین و هفته خوش و پرثمری را با عزیزانتان در هر گوشه و کنار جهان که هستین سپری کرده باشین. دوستان عزیز ارجمند، قسمتی که گفتم برنامه امروز یک برنامه اختصاصی است که به سلسله معرفی جوانان موفق در جامعه افغانی امروز یک مهمان بسیار عزیزی داریم که در رشته خود از موفقیت‌های عظیم برخوردار هستند. مهمان امروز ما آقای دانی کشاورز هستند که در آنتاریوی کانادا تولد شدند و در ایالت ارکنساس ایالات متحده آمریکا بزرگ شدند و بعد از اتمام دوره ثانوی بچلر دیگری و درجه بکالوریا را در رشته پرفورمینگ آرتس از از ارکنساس استیت یونیورسیتی اخذ کردن و بعداً درجه ماستری را در عین رشته فاین آرتس از یونیورسیتی آف میزوری کانساس سیتی اخذ کردن و آقای کشاورز از امان آبان کودکی و فیلم و سینما علاقه زیاد داشتن و همیشه در پروگرام های مکاتب حصه می گرفتن و از سال 1987 بدین سو در چندین سریال های تلویزیونی رول های دائمی خوب داشته و از جمله میتوان رول های را منحیث یوسف آدا در سریال تلویزیونی 24 و همچنان در سری سپرانو در HBO و در سری فوراور در ABC را نام برد و همچنان در سری های متعدد دیگر منحیث گست اپیرنس و یا اکتور مهمان رول بازی کرده که از جمله میتوان هک، سکس این دی سیتی، هاست، لاست معذرت میخوایم، لا ان اوردر و هوملند را نام برد و بر علاوه رول های در سریال های تلویزیونی در چندین فیلم هم آقای کشاورز بازی کردند که از جمله Growing Down in Brooklyn، Living Leah، The Adjustment Bureau و همچنان Experimental را نام برد که بسیار زیاد خوشحال هستیم که آقای کشاورز امروز در استودیوی تلویزیون آریانا افغانستان در برنامه دانش روشنایی و یا پوهن راناده با ما هستند. Welcome. It's a pleasure having you.
It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank
Mariam
you
John.
so much with all your busy schedule. You also give us the time to have you here and ask you questions and get to know you much better.
Thank you, Mariam John. I'm so impressed with what you have going here. I've been a fan of this television network for years, so
Thank you.
This is certainly a highlight to be able to be out and reach out to my community like this and get to know you and the community in this way.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
خب دوستان عزیز ارجمند، قسمی که گفتم که آقای کشاورز در کانادا به دنیا آمدن و در ایالات متحده آمریکا بزرگ شدن. البته برشان بهتر است که با وجود که دری خوب میفهمن، ولی به خاطر بیننده های عزیز جوان ما هم که برای هنرمندا بسیار علاقه خاصی دارن و هنرپیشه های افغانی خود ما که به سوی هالیوود رسیده باشن و میخواهیم که جوانای ما هم از برنامه بهره برداری کنن. به هولاس سوالای ما زیادتر گفتگوهای ما به زبان انگلیسی می باشن و وقتی که لاینای تلفن باز کردیم شما دوستای عزیز اگر خواسته باشین به زبان انگلیسی و یا دری و پشتو هم میتونین سوال کنین و باز میتونیم که ما سوالایتان جواب مهمان ما رو براتون حتما به دری میگم انشالله. If you don't mind telling us about yourself at the beginning, when did you think you wanted to be an actor? How did you start? How old were you and all that?
I was in high school when I discovered acting. Prior to getting bitten by the acting bug, I was a soccer addict.
Oh, wow.
Like many of my Afghani brothers and sisters, it's a game that was in my blood, and so I was all about soccer until the age of 12 or 13. And my first year in high school, I had gotten a knee injury on the soccer field and was looking for an after-school activity because that was all I was used to, was going straight from school to the soccer field. So I had all this time on my hands. And there was a new drama teacher there in my high school in Jonesboro, Arkansas, who was starting a theater department from the ground up. And somehow he saw something in me and said, why don't you audition for the play, which was a Neil Simon play called God's Favorite. And I did, and I never went back to soccer. And that's either.
How old were you?
This was the first year in high school.
So probably 13, 14.
Yeah, I was probably 14 years old. Yeah, when I discovered the acting thing. And what was interesting about that was that I kind of got the same charge from acting and that I got from playing soccer. So I said, let's stick with this and see where it goes.
So other than your teacher, who else was your role model? Who encouraged you? And if anyone, was there anyone who discouraged you for pursuing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. My father, God rest his soul, John Keshawarz, is and always will be my role model for everything. He's the greatest man I've ever known. He instilled. My father was an engineer, but he had a very creative soul, and he passed this on to me. And my father always was remindful to me that whatever I did in life, I should be an artist at it, as he was with his field. He passed that on to me, and although he didn't get to see my career in this industry, he saw the beginnings of that in high school.
How old were you when he passed?
I was 18. So he did see the beginnings of my interest in acting.
And that was only at school, right?
Yeah, that was at school. So there was no professional career before then. But my father has been and always will be the biggest guiding light in my life. I've always, and the thing that I'm most proud of as an actor and as a human being is that I'm honest and integrity, and integrity driven in anything I do. And my father passed that on to me too. The best actors, while acting and the movie industry itself is fantasy, right? It's all fake images. But the best actors are honest. That's the challenge in this industry, is to be honest. And if you watch the best actors, they're not faking it. They're doing the opposite of that. They're being honest with the material. And so whether from an acting standpoint or anything else, I draw from my father's values there and the Afghan culture in general, which leads with honesty and integrity, has always been what I've infused my career with. And so when I take roles, I assess the role not based on whether it's entertaining or not. I assess it based on, can I lend some honesty here? And that, frankly, has become A, difficult, but B, very fun to navigate lately. because the Middle East in general is in such crisis. I have to find the areas there to tell the truth. And I do that through my acting. And it's a small part. I'm no politician. I'm not going to change the world with my performances. But I try my best to approach every role with truth-telling as the prime motive. And if I can tell a truth, even if I play a character that's slightly off color and may not be aligned with my thinking, I always find a way to be able to tell a truth, and that for me overrides whether or not I agree with or disagree with the content of the role sometimes. My father was an engineer and was also an educator, a professor in university, and as well as my mother. So I had this built-in component of being a teacher that they passed on to me, and that's perhaps my favorite part of the acting business is the teaching component. That with every role I take, I have an opportunity to teach and to show a slice of humanity, and that's.
So how is it for you? How can you keep your integrity while pursuing your career in Hollywood? That's not probably an easy thing.
No, it takes some juggling. But again, my first insight into the roles that I get chosen for or cast, or even when things come across my way, when I read a role, I'm thinking, how can we tell the story here of an honest human being? And that keeps me on the spine of integrity that I try so hard to achieve.
Very good. So when and what was your first Hollywood produced role in a TV show or a movie?
My first role out of graduate school was a soap opera, As the World Turns. I don't know if you remember that. It's years ago. There are only like 4 soap operas left now on television, like Young and the Restless and a couple more. But this very long-running show called As the World Turns was my first professional TV job out of grad school. I was only initially cast to do 1 episode, and it turned into a year's worth of work at that time. And I learned a whole lot from that. It was a 3-camera setup, those soap operas are. And so that was very much like theater, which was my, up to that point, all I had a basis for in acting was from the theater. So it was very much like being on stage. So that made it an interesting place for me to learn how to work a camera, because I was somewhat comfortable with the venue already from the theatrical experience. So that was my first paying job right out of school, and it was a wonderful learning experience. And then I went on to do a series of minor roles. Sex and the City, as you mentioned, was in there in that first year of right after school. And then my first, and to date, this might be one of my favorite roles. I played the role of Yusuf Auda on 24, and that was the 2nd season of that show, so it was a big hit at that time. And I think I did an 8-episode arc on that show with Kiefer Sutherland. Really well-written role, especially at that time, in telling this Middle Eastern crisis story, and that was at the beginning of some really volatile politics at that time. And this show, 24, really handled it in a way that was realistic, and I was very honored to play a part on that show. To this day, it might have been one of the better written roles that I was given the pleasure of playing.
Very good. So what were your challenges at the beginning just to start and get in? What kind of competitions did you have to face?
Yeah, it's this business. You asked me before what were some of the roadblocks in this career. The industry itself is the biggest challenge, because if you sit and think about what it is to have a career in this business, you won't do it. So it requires some sort of putting blinders on. Right. And for me, again, that was always combated with an internal sense that I just wanted to create, and it was all about the work. So that took a little pressure off for me. I never got into this career to make big money. I never got into this career to be a superstar. Those things, as in every industry and in everything we do, those things kind of come along with it, but those things have never been my focus. So it took the pressure off of me personally when I just focus on the work, doing good work. And it's a difficult career. It's not by any stretch an easy career. So I made it about having fun and creating these roles, and I always have been. My manager gets a little peeved with me because when it comes time to signing contracts, it's the last thing I care about. I'm about the work, and that stuff comes along with it to me, and it hasn't come easy. Those are hard fought battles, but I make it about the work, and then that other stuff is less pressurized.
Exactly, that's wonderful. That's probably good advice for people who are.
I just think in every venture, right? If we make it about doing service to whatever our work is, if you're a realtor or a lawyer, if you're doing service to your client,
and you're enjoying what you're doing,
and you enjoy what you do, it takes the pressure off that other stuff. Because, like I say, this career in particular, it gives you many opportunities to leave because it's not easy. Even today, when I have relatively steady work, that in this industry is, as I say, it's a relative concept because, except for very few at the top echelon of actors, when one job is over, you're looking for your next job again. It's always, you're sort of like a free agent in that sense. And that brings some anxieties with it too. So again, I've learned over the years to just ignore those things and just make it about the work, and it makes it.
So how about we see you in action now?
Yeah, please.
If we can look at the Adjustment Bureau footage of it to see, and then you can explain, give us some background.
I'd be happy to.
What did you like about it? What were your challenges and all that?
Be happy to.
Okay.
Let's take a walk. The intense chemistry between them, constant deflection points, and the kicker, you pulling them apart twice, only to have chance put them back together. Yeah, all that seemed a little much, so I asked Podensky to do some research this morning. Have you been in here before? No.
Yeah, that was one of my first big Hollywood budget movies. And you know, it's interesting. I look at that clip, and I didn't have much more to do in the movie than that, maybe 3 or 4 scenes. But they put me through the ringer to get that role. I mean, I auditioned 5 or 6 times to get that role. I think that's oftentimes what people don't realize when they see an actor doing whatever sized role. There's a lot of hoop jumping to get to that point. I thought it was a really good movie. It was largely about fate and love and destiny, and how I played the Adjustment Bureau. Was this fictionalized, for lack of a better word, angels that operate over people to either make them fit into their destiny or break that up. And the leads in this film were Matt Damon and Emily Blunt, and they were in love, and the forces against them were like this Adjustment Bureau, and I played the head of the Adjustment Bureau, the kind of like top dog. So it was somewhat a love story and futuristic at the same time. A great cast, and it was so fun to work on.
So you was a positive experience for you?
It was
well?
indeed, yeah. It was, as I say, it was my first of the big budget Hollywood movies, and I was treated with such respect, and it was really a great experience. It really was.
So let's maybe see The Cobbler by Adam Sandler.
Sure, sure.
Escho. Kom.
Was ist das, Tate?
Das ist eine Nähmaschine. Als wanneer een pad is vis.
Von wann hat sie sich genommen?
Das hat de Zijde bekommen, met Hane. Van Elia Hanavi.
Von Elia Hanavi?
Ja, der Malach. De machine is een speciale. Niet mensen nur een speciale tijden.
Ach was?
Zit. Mal en ik had op in de nacht is Bettler bekommen en angeklappt in de Tür van het Geschäft. Dein Seide. Als de Bettler reingenomen waren, kein hat niet gewollt es tun. Er hat gegeben Essen, von nicht so ein Schicht. Zum Morgens in dem Früh ist der Bettler schon nicht gewesen. Aber auf sein Ort ist schon gewesen die Nähmaschine.
Telling my uncle Farid Keshawarz that I booked a role playing Adam Sandler's great grandfather, and we had a good laugh with that. So I played. Yes, the character you see there is Adam Sandler's great grandfather, and the show was done in a series of flashbacks. And the language being spoken there is Yiddish. I'm half German. My mother's German, so I'm Afghan in a sense. German is about, or Yiddish, the language is about 90% German language. German, yes. So I was able to recall my childhood language and reconnect with that. It was great fun. I didn't have any scenes with Adam Sandler because I was, of course, playing his great grandfather in flashback form. But I got to know him quite well on the set. He was one of the executive producers of that. A really sweet man. He's the type of actor that sort of like stops the day and says, "Hey, we're working pretty hard here. Let me get a meal catered for the whole crew and cast." He's one of those decent souls. That was, again, an amazing experience. A wonderful director, Tom McCarthy, directed that. This year he had an Oscar contender, Spotlight. I don't know if you saw that. It's about the Catholic priest crisis. He directed that. He's directed several award-winning films. He's a wonderful indie director. That was shot all on location in New York, and it was great fun. Dustin Hoffman was theoretically my son in that movie because he was Adam Sandler's father. So I could say that Dustin Hoffman is my son, and Adam Sandler's my son.
Can you tell me about your experiences working with these big stars?
These big stars?
Yes. How were you treated, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah.
How did they perceive you?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I've found almost to a T, almost to the letter, the big stars in this industry are the least ego-filled people in general. I find that to be true. Most of them I find a very like-mindedness with. Adam Sandler was that way. Kiefer Sutherland from 24 is that way. Very much like-minded with me. They're very about the work, and I think the big stars are spend their lives being followed by so many cameras that they really cherish being human and not being a part of the industry. So when they get moments to steal off side of the set or whatever, it's very human conversation and connections that I've made with most of the big stars. James Gandolfini was that way. I did a season of The Sopranos. A lot of these big stars that I've worked with anyway are the most humble people And I think that it comes from being in a business that's so image oriented and optic oriented that they really crave being human again, if that makes sense.
Yes,
And so
out of touch with the real world, probably.
Yeah, that they crave the small moments, and I really appreciate that because I try to lead.
So if you can keep track of how many different films, TV series, and stage shows have you been in? Probably too many.
No, it's not so many that I can't keep track. I think I've done probably. Now you are putting me on the spot. I think
you're very down to earth.
Well, well, again, this industry is there are many ways to get where you go in this industry and in all industries, I think. But I have chosen the way that really is about the work. So, and I took it seriously. I went to grad school and I got a degree in acting. So I took it seriously. But it wasn't a straight line for me, and it still isn't. I sort of take it step by step and job by job, and I make it all about the work. And what was your initial question there?
And if you can keep track of how many TV shows, films, and stage shows.
Right, and so to answer your question, I don't sort of keep track of that in my mind because it's not a priority. But
someday you will lose track of them anyway.
No, I don't know about that. But I think I've maybe done if I said 20, that might be accurate. Movies and TV shows, some leading characters, some minor characters, and then stage. I've done. I did had the pleasure and honor of doing 2 Broadway shows. Being a New York actor, I live in New York. I'm out here on the West Coast just temporarily. But being a New York actor, I've been lucky to have my finger in that pot too, because the New York theater scene is thriving. It isn't where actors make money, but it's where they develop their soul, their creative soul. And I was very lucky to be able to do some Broadway theater. So
what do you enjoy the most? Did you like the TV series for being in the films or on the stage? I've
now at this point in my career done more TV shows than any of the other, and so it kind of feels like home now when I get on a set. So I'm starting to be able to say that that's where I feel comfortable is doing TV. It's all really fun. TV, theater, it's all any chance an actor gets to do their craft, it's fun, so I can't discriminate. But I think I feel more comfortable on TV now because I've just done more of it than anything else.
So maybe we should go and look at one of your TV shows, Forever on ABC.
Sure.
Cause of death on this guy seems a bit obvious.
I couldn't agree more. Manner of death, accidental.
Got it? What? Guy has an axe sticking out of his head. It's a clear homicide.
Yeah, witnesses heard the victim and his neighbor arguing 20 minutes before his death.
Go ahead. All right. From his garb, we can see that he was an American football fan. I assume there was a game last night from all the commotion on my street, and from what I can gather, it was rather a raucous affair.
Yeah, pretty raucous.
Right. He was drunk and probably thought the power outage we had last night was simply his satellite. From the moisture and wet leaves on his shoes, it suggests that he slipped and fell. Slight fracture of the L5 where he landed on his back, and then gravity took care of the rest. Not the most elegant way to go, but accidental nonetheless.
Well, if it's the official manner of death, who might argue? Call an early night, maybe. You home see the kids before they go to bed.
Ouch!
Sorry. Not used to working with the living.
So, the after-incident report stated that Diego Rodriguez was in your 1 o'clock position when you were shot. Now, the bullet cut across your body and struck you here.
So?
Well, that just couldn't happen. Lucas?
Lucas, take your hand out from underneath. You look ridiculous.
I believe Mr. Magnum PI would disagree.
So, your arm is outstretched, and the bullet entered here, from inner to outer. You see, the angles are all wrong.
Doc, the units did a full sweep of the warehouse. There was no one else there.
There was someone else. Someone who could have easily shot you and planted the gun on Diego.
Detective Don?
He's with Joe right now.
So going back to my previous question,
Yeah.
For those of us who don't know, what is the difference between small screen, big screen, and Broadway
And theater. It's a great question.
Yeah.
It's essentially, the answer is energy. Live performance. You are the vessel to the play itself. So you have to invite the audience, or rather, you have to bring the audience to the play, to the piece, in a sense. So your performance needs to have that sort of largesse, to be able to reach, especially in big Broadway theaters, to reach thousands of people and bring them to the stage, metaphorically. In camera work, it is more about inviting the camera into your world. So it's similar but different in that sense. But basically, the answer is energy and stage presence. And it helped for me that I, have a master's degree in this, and I was able to do a lot of stage work in a safe zone of the university. I had many years of training on stage that allowed me to know the difference between these two energies. There are many actors that just go straight to the movies, and while they may or may not be very good at that, knowing the difference between those two different creative energies, I feel lucky that I have that sense, because it's helped me. Since
my show is about education, and of course I was very anxious to have you on the show, and what made me more eager, because you do have a bachelor's degree and master's degree in your field. So had you not have this educational background in your field, how would that have been? Has it helped you? Would you recommend it to other young people who wants to go into the same path? Should they pursue higher education in the field?
It's a great question. I always feel that whatever you do, and I got this again from my father, and I feel that to be an artist in whatever your chosen field is, you should know it from the inside out, and from the ground up. And for me, it made sense to really study the craft. I wouldn't expect to go in to have surgery with a surgeon that didn't study the craft. So for me, that just sort of makes sense. I certainly realize that other people are in this career without that sense of education behind it, and I certainly wouldn't tell anyone how to do it, because there are many ways to get there.
But it has helped you.
But it has helped me.
And you're happy you did that.
Yes, it's made a lot of sense to me to do it that way, and I am glad I did. I'm glad I did it that way. And frankly, at times, I always heard my dad and some of my uncles whisper in my ear, go back to school. It's always a great place. So there were times in my career when I was not getting work, and these little whispers would say, go back to school, learn more, learn more. It's always been sort of a part of my DNA so I'm comfortable on college settings, and so for me it always made sense when I was stalled to go back to the basics and get the learning and the gathering, and to me that makes sense in every career.
Of course.
So for me that personally works.
Very good. So we'll go just look at another clip, Homeland.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it.
Please.
He went down like a stone. No attempt to save himself whatsoever.
Now he's refusing to eat.
Make him.
How do you expect us to do that?
It's called force feeding. Oh, due respect, sir, the guy's a waste of space. Now, I suggest whatever you got in mind for him, just push it 6 months. Let us do this thing right.
You done letting us in on your thought process?
Yes, sir.
Get him to eat.
أريد أفتش سيارتك.
Jesus, I don't want to look in the truck.
Salam alaikum.
قاعد به.
Good night.
Hey, you okay?
Brody, you good?
What the fuck are you doing?
I can't do it.
Yes,
I can't.
you
No,
can.
I can't.
And you
No,
will.
I fucking can't. I fucking can't. I fucking can't.
Is it late in the day for your vagina to chime in?
No, fuck off.
You scared? Are you fucking scared?
I'm scared.
Good. Me too. I've seen way too many men killed out here in this third world toilet. I personally shit myself every time they send me back here. And if you don't snap out of this right now, we could all fucking die here tonight. Is that what you want?
No.
Tell me you're gonna be okay. Tell me that this is not the end of the road for you. No. I need to hear you say it.
I won't be okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'll be okay.
Show. In addition to being one of the best TV shows of the past 10 years, I was honored to be able to be a part of that. But on a personal level, that role, I was talking to my cousin Crystal about this recently, and she noticed this when she watched it, and we had a long discussion. That role is the most of the me's that I got to put in one role. And what I mean by that, when you're an actor like me, I've played every culture. I've played Jewish, I've played Italian, I've played American. Very rarely do I get the gift of a role that has all the various energies that I, as a person, written into the role. This guy was a Navy SEAL, American, Middle Eastern background. I think Iranian is actually where they had the character placed, but raised in America. Again, a Navy SEAL, raised in Texas, the southern part of the United States, which is where I'm from, Arkansas. So it really was like the stars kind of aligned, and it makes it to date perhaps my favorite role, because it's as complex as I am, and as any of us human beings are. We all have the beauty, this beauty of complexity that we bring to life and bring to every situation. This was a gift of a role where I got to explore that. Some actors don't know that quandary, because they sort of play one role all the time, and they go from, I'm a character actor and I bring all of my different.
You don't like a routine. You want to.
No, not for me. It's the gift in theater to me is bringing, in acting to me is bringing all the energies that I have as a human being to my roles. And this was creatively a prime experience for me of getting to do exactly that. It was not only a well-written, very responsibly written role, but it was very, very similar to me, and I don't get that often. So it was a real gift.
All right. How long ago was this?
That was the 3rd season of Homeland, and I think they're on the 6th season. So it was 3 years ago, potentially, something like that. So it wasn't that long ago. It was great fun.
So after the last clip, with your permission, I would like to invite viewers to call too if they have any questions or comments.
I would love, and I will apologize ahead of time that my Farsi is horrible, and
that's
I
fine.
would love
They can ask in English or in Farsi.
They can ask whatever the way they'd like, but my apologies.
No, at the beginning we did speak Farsi, and you were very understandable and very clear.
Goodness,
okay. So the next clip would be Lost, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Saeed! Saeed! It is you. Sam. So you haven't forgotten me? Hardly. What are you doing in Sydney? I've been traveling. And you? I live here. Almost a year now. I'm a tree cutter. I cut trees. Sounds like good, honest work. So much for my philosophy degree, huh? Whatever puts food on your table. How is Sarah? She died. Stray bomb while she was shopping for a dress. I'm so sorry. Listen, we've got a lot of catching up to do. Why don't you come over? I'd love to. Mr. Outerman.
Okay, what can you tell us?
Yeah, this is one of those examples that I was talking about before about this show, in addition to being a huge hit, explored, you know, some political themes that were interesting, to say the least, and especially the Middle Eastern themes in here. This is my one and only to date role where I played a terrorist, is what he was. However, the role was, well, what I lent to the role was, you could see it in that clip there. I generally stay away from that type of material because I think our culture gets maligned by Hollywood a lot, and I don't want to contribute to that. But there are times when
That's nice of you.
There are times when the humanity of the truth of humanity comes through, and any opportunity I get to do that, I will. So as a general rule, I strive to uplift the identity of our Afghan culture, but as well the Middle Eastern cultures in general. Every culture, I think, has their version of that when it comes to Hollywood. So I don't think we're the only ones, but we're living in a time when the Middle East and our cultures have to be handled delicately and truthfully, whether it's in politics or TV and acting. Here, I found what they did with the role, with the character, and what I chose to do with the role was focus on why he's a terrorist, and it's because he was hurt, and that's a truth of humanity that exists. So for me, it was a time. This is the one role where I said to myself, I can do something that I can lend my part to teaching in a creative way. The human part of this highly politically charged story.
So do you get to choose that? Can you, do you have any say?
To the extent that I can say yes or no to a role, that's my choice in it. Actors have very little power, but the one big power they have is to say yes or no. I joke, and it's only partially true. I probably could have been a billionaire if I took every terrorist role they threw at me by now. I've chosen not to take that route, and so it's a harder route, maybe financially, but I can sleep at night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to maintain your integrity.
Yeah.
So being an African American, has it helped you or hurt you in any of your landing Hollywood roles?
It's helped in the sense that I can, well, being Afghani American, as well as being an actor that challenges and takes diverse roles, and I challenge myself. So that has worked hand in hand. I've always embraced my identity and welcomed playing any role. And as an actor, to me, acting is acting. There are actors that sort of get every role they do is a slightly different version of themselves. That to me is a good way to make money, but to me, it's not acting. It's not very creative. So I've always embraced the possibilities of playing many different types of roles, culturally and otherwise. So for me, to answer your question, it's helped because I embrace playing real characters. I'm not the type of person to focus on how it's hindered me, so I haven't given thought to that. I think only in the ways that we talked about before, in career-wise, I've had to be very selective about what type of roles I'd play and how I want our culture to be viewed. And so I only have a little bit of power in that. And again, it's to say yes or no to these roles, and to handle them as honestly as I can when I do get them. So I don't feel that it's hurt me to be Afghan American. And if it has, I really don't care. I don't focus on that. So my answer to that would be it's only helped.
Very good. خب دوستان عزیز ارجمند، ما با آقای دانی کشاورز که یک هنرپیشه بسیار موفق هالیوود هستیم و لاین‌های تلفن باز میکنیم، تلفن‌های شما دوستان عزیز میگیریم و البته بسیار جای افتخار است که ما یک هنرپیشه بسیار موفق و خوبی را داریم که در هالیوود از ما افغانان نمایندگی میکنه و اینا یک شخص متواضع هستند که عزت نفسشان از پول کرده برایشان مهمتر است و بعضی نقش ها و یا رولای را که برایشان اساین میکنه و یا میتن که اگر خلاف ازی باشه که برای ما و کلتور ما بر بخوره، البته از اون چیزای ناصرف نظر میکنن، قبول نمیکنن و ازی بسیار قابل قدر است. I really appreciate, I'm sure everyone appreciates what you just said about that you don't care about the money, your integrity is more important, what you respect your background and you keep that in mind. So that's really important.
Well, if I can give back to the Afghan community the way it's given to me, it would be the highest honor, and if I can do that through my work.
So as an Afghan American, looking at pictures of Afghanistan, all the distraction that there is there anything you can do to get world attention to the plight of Afghans?
Yeah, I mean, being an actor is just such a small part of this global experience that the Middle East and Afghanistan finds itself in. That again, if I feel I have any power, it's to tell stories truthfully, create truthful characters, and hopefully someday have our community have as strong as voices as we can. And thank goodness to people like you and your network here. You're doing much more work than I'll ever be able to do to get.
No, you do a lot because you are. The whole world sees you, and people that watches you. It's different, and also your interaction in Hollywood.
Yeah. I feel like being an actor is just a small part in terms of the complex nature of where our country finds itself. But if any opportunity I get to tell the truth about our people is what I find to be important in my cause.
That's very important. خب دوستان عزیز، البته لاین‌های تلفن باز است. معذرت می‌خوایم که از این که تا به حال لاین‌هاتون رو گرفتن نتونستیم. حالا می‌ریم سراغ تلفن‌های شما. بله، سلام بفرمایید.
Hi, how are you, Donnie?
Salam, I'm good.
My question is in respect to Afghan culture and how we need to respect art in all its forms. Because I find that a lot of times our parents don't necessarily support those who wish to, partake in the arts, whether it's singing, acting, painting, whatever the case may be. So how can we encourage each other to engage in the arts more and to, impress upon people how important it is to engage in art?
Yeah, it's a great question. And unfortunately, we live in a time when the arts, along with many parts of our society, have just been degraded. So a lot of our parents' generation or even grandparents, their template for what art is in the present day doesn't look like what they think art should look like, and I can understand that. What passes for art these days is unfortunate. So I think as much as we can as creative people, as artists, as actors, as musicians, if we can focus on telling the truth in our creative medium or whatever we're trying to do, as long as we're telling truth, and if our or the role as an actor, if you're telling the truth with the roles you create, hopefully it will elevate the arts in general and convince that parent generation that you're talking about that there is worth in the arts, just like there is in anything else. So it's the hard road to take, but I think just focusing on the integrity of what arts are is the way to approach it. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. It's great advice.
Thank you for the call. تشکر از تلفن شما. بله سلام بفرمایید. بینید عزیز معذرت میخوام و فکر میکنم شما رو قطع کردم. اگر لطف کنین دوباره تلفن کنین. با معذرت زیاد فکر میکنم که ما لاینتون رو قطع کردم. So until I get the call again, where do you see yourself in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, well, this theme that I keep talking about being honest with my work and having integrity, I see myself just doing more of the same of that. And as I said before, I don't focus too much on where that takes me, but I do focus on doing that with every fiber of my creative being. So I hope to be doing more of the same and speaking more practically. I've never sought the fame thing. That's never been a part of what I do this for. But having steady work as an actor is always a great thing, and lately that's been good. But it's such a strange career. You never know where it's going to take you. So I don't try not to focus on where I'm going career-wise, but that if I do good work along the way, that it'll take me to a good place.
تلویزیون آریان افغانستان بفرمایید. سلام. سلام با شما بفرمایید.
میتونم گپ بزنم؟
بله چرا نه، شما لایف هستین.
لایف هستین؟
بله
سلام علیکم. Salam, Mariam Jan. How are you? And I hope everything is fine.
Thank you.
My name is Raguna Saleh.
Welcome to the program. Pleasure having you.
I'm hearing two voices.
I think, is your TV on?
Yes.
Yes. So maybe you should
go from this to another room.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know that Mr. Keshawarz is really pride of Afghanistan. We are very proud of him. Maybe if he could get himself involved a little bit in charities. I know you're a board member.
Yes.
With IUC, maybe if you mention to him, and if you get board member.
That's exactly what was in my mind. Okay, thank you. I had that in mind. I will be speaking with him, and he is very charitable person. He doesn't care about money, integrity, and helping his community. That is very important to him. Thank you very much for your call.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Zapana John.
Okay, so if you had to do it over again, would there be anything that you would change? Would you do the exact same thing? What would you do?
I only have one template to know what brought me to today. So that experience has been great. Not been easy, but I don't think easy is necessarily a given. Again, my father and the Afghani culture stresses hard work, and so I'm not allergic to hard work. So I don't have any regrets in that, other than to say it is hard work. I would do it all exactly the same. I would.
So if anyone would ask for your advice, what would you advise those young Afghans that would want to pursue careers in acting and want to get into Hollywood?
Yeah, it's a great question. As I said before, I don't think there's many different ways to sort of become an actor. What worked for me was to always constantly assess and reassess what I'm doing right in this business. I really look at it as a craft.
Right.
The business kind of is what it is to me. So I always, in acting or in any other venture, my advice is always to make sure that your tools that you carry around with you for your trade are honestly gotten and are as sharp as they can be. So when I go into a room, when I say I go into a room, I mean when I go into an audition, for example, I'm very little focused on who's in that room. I'm very much focused on how my craft is. And I think it just takes an honest assessment and reassessment always as, okay, I need to work on this. And so, like I said, for me, that meant at times going back to school and gathering some, sharpening those tools a little more. And that only comes from really looking inward and always assessing yourself. Well, and I tell my daughter, you know, there are certain gifts that we're all born with. My daughter's an incredible gymnast. Those are natural gifts. She didn't stick with it. Because the passion wasn't there.
Right.
So, and my point about that is, whatever gifts we bring to the table, we have the choice to keep those gifts sharp and take them to the next level, or not. And it doesn't mean that just because you weren't born with a certain gift. I don't do many comedies, for example. So when I do comedy work, I really have it. I have to fight for it. There's other types of drama, for instance, that's more in my wheelhouse and more like just come along with the natural gifts that I have. So it means carry those gifts with you, but work on the other stuff that you maybe not so gifted with, and keep going.
Very good. So your current visit to Southern California, is it business related to Hollywood?
It is, yeah. I'm in negotiations for something that I can't. It's just contractual right now, but
so you have something new coming up, right?
Yeah, there's potential for a project. I can say it's on the CW network. So I'm in talks right now.
Keep us posted.
I will keep you. Yeah, it'll be very soon that I'll be able to talk about that. But yeah, I'm here for business related, but I'm not currently employed. That's the weird part about being an actor. You got to get used to having work and then not having work, and there's always the in-between times for.
So what do you do in between times? Do you have anything else?
I try to stay in the gym. I try to focus on my family. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a beautiful wife, and then countless Afghani cousins and uncles that give me pride and energy and spirit when the work is not there. So I try to focus on just the day-to-day human aspect.
Do you have any other message to our Afghan community, what they can do to help you with your career, and what advice do you give them?
Yeah.
Since this is the end of the show.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I just think if we all support each other with positivity and which Afghans do by nature anyway. So keep supporting one another the way we do, and watch Ariana television as much as you can, because it's things like this, it's ventures like this that really spread the word about what we're doing and the power of the Afghan people. So let's not let politics get in the way of our hearts.
One last call.
Yeah, sure.
بله سلام بفرمایید. بله سلام. بینید چیز روی خط هستین میخواین صحبت کنید؟ I guess some people shy away.
Yeah, sure.
So that's
sure,
fine.
Sure.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you.
It was more my pleasure than yours.
So
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much, Mariam.
See you again when you come back.
You will.
Please stop by and talk about your career, because in this show we do introduce different fields of study, and then we want to make sure we have guests from different fields to be role models, to
Well,
give advice to all our young Afghans?
Well, the Afghan people are such a well-rounded people, and we are successful on so many fronts that I'm sure you have no problem keeping this seat filled. And I'm happy to come back anytime.
Thank you very
Mariam
much.
John.
It's such a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you.
خب دوستای عزیز و ارجمند، امیدوارم که برنامه اختصاصی ما مورد پسند قرار گرفته باشه. به دوست عزیزی که در لاین هستن ببخشید که من آلت تلفنی که گرفته نمیتونم چون وقت برنامه به پایان رسیده، ولی میتونیم گرفته. تشکر بسیار زیاد. خب بله سلام بفرمایید.
هلو.
بله سلام. هلو.
سلام چطور هستین؟
زنده باشین بفرمایید.
بله I'm Donnie's second cousin. I just wanted, because I've never had the opportunity to meet him because we live in Atlanta. But I just wanted to say hi to Donnie and support him with everything he does, you know, especially for an Afghan, you know, and acting is kind of like a minor role compared to all the other Afghan, you know, careers and everything. And it's like, I'm happy for Donnie, him and his family. And I just was asking if he could give some words of encouragement for like the younger Afghan generations with, you know, schooling and like to not give up in their hard work.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much for the call.
Oh, first of all, what an honor to hear from a cousin. Thank you so much. And, you know, I do what I do on the backs of wonderful family members. So, and that's the Afghan way, is we help each other and we're all family. So my words of advice are do what you do honestly and with hard work. And again, hard work implies that it's going to take a while, but that builds character. And that makes you really good at what you do. If it comes quick and easy, it feels good, but there's a lot missing.
Hello?
بله سلام بفرمایید. بله سلام بفرمایید. بفرمایید. یک آواز در بک‌گراند هست ببخشید بفرمایید صحبت کنید. هلو. خب دوست عزیز تلفن میکنن اگر تلویزیونایتان خاموش کنین and also please be sure your TV volume is down. بله سلام. بله.
بله سلام علیکم.
سلام بفرمایید. لطفا صحبت کنین. بله سلام روی خط هستین؟
بله.
روی خط هستین بفرمایید. Can you hear us? خب ببینید عزیز متاسفانه فکر میکنم شما با درایو هستین و یا نمیفهم سر و صدا در بک‌گراند زیاد است آوازتان شنیده نمیتونیم با معذرت زیاد. بله بفرمایید یک چانس دیگه هم براتون میدیم خدا کنه که سر و صدای بک‌گراند.
سلام علیکم.
سلام به شما. لطفا صحبت کنید بفرمایید. خب فکر میکنم که
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Yes, so maybe he's in the car or something.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again.
Mariam John, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure all our viewers will be happy to see you.
I hope so.
Thank you. خب دوستان عزیز ارجمند این بود برنامه امروز ما با آقای دانی کشاورز، هنرپیشه فیلم و سینما و تلویزیون در هالیوود و البته برنامه را میتونین هم از طریق یوتیوب هم ببینین و برنامه همیشگی ما برنامه پوهنران و دانش روشنایی است. هر دوشنبه از ساعت 5 تا 6 بعد از ظهر وقت کالیفرنیا از تلویزیون آریان افغانستان زنده و لایو پخش میشه و شما دوستان عزیز و ارجمند هم میتونین که از طریق لایو استریم برنامه رو ببینین و برنامه فردا مهمان ما هستن محترم دکتر کبیرالله لطفی و موضوع برنامه ادکشن و یا احتیاط است و البته از شما دوستان عزیز دعوت میکنم که انتخاب کنین که آیا در مورد ادکشن غذا میخواین صحبت کنین، در مورد ادکشن و یا احتیاط در مشروبات الکلی و دخانیات و البته در مورد مواد مخدر در گذشته صحبت کردیم میتونین که از طریق ایمیل روی صفحه تلویزیون است بر ما نظریتان بگوین و یا انتخابتان و پیشنهادتان و هم میتونین که از طریق فیسبوک با ما به تماس شوین. و با تشکر مجدد از مهمان گرامی آقای دانی کشاورز و همکاران تکنیکی برنامه امروز به همینجا به پایان میرسانیم. تا هفته آینده خداوند یار و مددگارتان
بود. ارکی دانا بود ز دانش دل پیر برنا بود.